Thanks for having me.
I want to begin, but among other things, everyone's attacking you for your position. What are you doing in the government? There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced.
Yes.
It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Oh, well, so that's your suspicion. Is the website, is the internet up? Is it up yet?
It's up, yeah.
It's up yet. Okay, good. But I just was looking back. Let me just see if I get this right. They're setting fire to various Tesla charging stations near Boston. Shots were fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Various nonviolent...
Shots fired, not a metaphor.
Shots fired, yes. Downtown New York, marching against the Tesla showroom. Your stock is way down. You've been criticized left and right.
But look on the bright side.
I mean, why are you doing this?
Always look on the bright side of life.
Yes.
Monty Python reference. So, I mean, I call this Elon Musk is officially public enemy number one. The swamp is mad. Everyone involved in waste, fraud, abuse, grift, misuse of taxpayer money, skimming, kickbacks, corruption. Anyone who knows they're not pulling their weight, every pig with their snout in the trough is furious. A bunch of fatherless liberals are organising and participating in quote-unquote protests. In fact, many of these organised quote Tesla protests are nothing but terrorism. And I mean terrorism in the literal sense. Let's read the definition. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. So let's be clear. There are Democrat-funded terrorist organizations currently unlawfully using violence and intimidation against Tesla. Why? In the pursuit of political aims, in particular to allow the waste, fraud and abuse to continue. This is absolutely unhinged. But if these dumb fucks think that Elon Musk is going to back down when being intimidated, they got another thing coming. Tesla stock got reamed today, down over 15%, now $222 per share. Market cap 69 times $10 billion. And check out the 52-week high versus the 52-week low. Tesla being extremely volatile is nothing new. $138.80 was the low. The high, $488. Tesla stock now down more than 50% from its all-time high. Bleeding even more after hours.
I'm an optimist.
Yeah. But besides that,
yes. I mean,
how's your day?
What motivates you to do this?
Was the opera good?
It's tough sledding.
Yeah, it is tough sledding. But I think we're doing the right thing here. There's been a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government. When you're part of the government, you saw a lot of that, and there's been. If you look at the Inspector General reports and the Government Accountability Office, there have been many audits that have pointed out that there's a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government. In fact, there was a report issued by the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, last year. So during the Biden administration, which estimated the federal government fraud to be $500 billion. So just to be clear, that's not a Trump administration thing, that's a Biden administration thing. So what we're trying to do is get that number down to a much smaller figure, save money for the American taxpayer, stop money being spent on things that I think very few taxpayers would agree make sense. Transgender animal surgeries, or why are we spending money? Why are American tax dollars being spent on this? The president's gone through a long list of absurd things. Why are the 20 million people who are definitely dead marked as alive in the Social Security database? Why were hundreds of millions of dollars of small business administration loans were given out to people aged 11 and under, according to the Social Security? I mean, like these.
I've got to take a moment here. I mean, holy fuck, dude. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. It's absurd. It seems like a skit. How poorly run, how wasteful, how fraudulent, how corrupt. It's worth taking a step back to once again reflect on the absolutely unhinged, extremely intense, violent reaction to the Trump administration and its Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, seeking to discover and reduce fraud, waste, abuse, and misuse of taxpayer funds. Who would object to this? If you're a US taxpayer, there's no reason why you would object to this. wouldn't you want your money to go further? I mean, it's pretty reasonable. 20 million plus people marked as alive in the social security database who can't possibly be alive because they'd be breaking world records for age, taxpayer money, being pissed away and wasted on absurd expenditures, and worse, straight up corruption. And we've seen US aid, money going to the mainstream media, and the mainstream media painting the narrative that Elon bad, Orange Man bad, it's a gigantic, massive circle jerk, a self-flating entity. They're mad. You can understand why the left-leaning media's mad, because they've been part of the fraud. Everyone involved in the fraud, of course, is furious. And the only other group of people that are angry about this are those who don't earn any income and don't pay any taxes. The kind of people who have pink hair, 12 piercings, no father, and are just mad at the world. I saw a recent poll somewhere on the order of 76% of US citizens approve of what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing. Yet you now have these terrorist organizations, which I did cover in yesterday's video. I mean, one of them literally admitting on the record, terrorist organizations trying to target and intimidate Elon Musk and Tesla for political reasons, to continue the grift, the corruption, the fraud, and the waste. If only this weren't entirely predictable. I mean, Musk knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. I called it. And like I said, Trump can't get elected again. So now Elon is public enemy number one. His influence will last many more decades. They tried driving a wedge between Musk and Trump, didn't work. Now they're systematically going to run down the list of other senior people in the Trump administration and try and make up some story about a feud between Musk and this person and that person. It's never going to work. They picked the wrong guy. As Musk pointed out, they are doing good. The perception is irrelevant. The hatchet jobs, the fake news, the fake protest, the terrorism, it doesn't matter. Musk is courage embodied. He cares only about doing the right thing and saving US taxpayers hundreds of billions, potentially $500 billion plus per year. Absolutely worth it. This is a once in a generation, perhaps a once in a lifetime opportunity. So again, just take a step back and contemplate the insane reactions. Where are they coming from? The answer is people who are involved in the fraud. And that includes many in the left-leaning media who were part of the fraud, literally getting paid. This has all been covered, the USAID stuff, the subscriptions to legacy media, and then there's the NGOs. We've been over this. Or communists / Marxists / fascists, recently graduated or currently attending university students who hate their lives, don't work, don't pay taxes, and just want to see the United States burn down. They're sick fucks. All reasonable people completely support this, but that's not the narrative we're hearing.
These must be some very enterprising 8-year-olds, you know.
And some pretty strong 150-year-olds.
Yes, exactly. As the president said, you know, we have an enormous number of people marked as alive who are 160. He didn't know the country was that healthy.
Yes, yes.
You know.
So demystify this. How do you do it? Okay, how big is your team?
Yeah.
Where'd you recruit most of them from? And what is it that makes you choose, you know, the Treasury or Social Security or USAID? How does it work? Let the public know, please.
Right. Well, we just basically follow the money. You know, we look at the president's executive orders, and we also just follow the money. So we started looking closely at USAID because they were completely violating the president's executive orders to suspend foreign aid, you know, what's called foreign aid, but in our view is a lot of corruption. So what we saw there is just a tremendous amount of money being sent to non-governmental organizations. But actually, this, by the way, is I think one of the biggest sources of fraud in the world is government-funded non-governmental organizations. This is a gigantic fraud loophole where the government can give money to an NGO. And then there are no controls over that NGO. So they've given billions of dollars, in fact, we estimate tens of billions of dollars to NGOs that are essentially scams.
By the way,
I'm trying to put a stop to that. You know, so
I don't want to interrupt, but Secretary of State Rubio just come out. I think he tweeted today. He has accepted over 80% of your recommendations to shut down in USAID.
Right.
So your review and analysis was spot on.
Yes. So I think when people criticize, say, what Doge is doing, we say, well, which part specifically? Because we put all of the actions of the Doge team on the Doge.gov website and on the Doge handle on X. So we post the receipts. So it's like this action has been taken, this action has been taken. So when we get criticism, we say, like, of what? Which line do you disagree with? Like which cost saving do you disagree with? And then people usually can't think of any.
No.
You know, so
it's transparent line by line.
It's transparent line by line,
which is quite remarkable.
Right. And so, and then with respect to the Treasury, for example, the two main recommendations we suggested, which have now been implemented, was that any payments going out of the Treasury, especially the Treasury's main payment computer, which is called PAM, things like a payments account manager or something like that, but it's like almost $5 trillion a year, so about $1 billion an hour, that the payments be coded with the congressional appropriation, and that there be an explanation for the payment. Very basic stuff. And just doing that.
I'm just laughing at how absurd everything currently is. Simple stuff indeed. As it stands today, you don't even need to describe what the payment is, let alone reference it. I mean, the only reason I couldn't imagine that this would be the current state of things is if people wanted to freely make payments that they shouldn't be making, engaging in some form of fraud or corruption. But that would never happen. Everything's squeaky clean, and that's why there's no intense reaction to the Department of Government Efficiency sniffing around.
We estimate we'll save $100 billion a year.
You're not really, let me see if I get this right, particularly with Social Security, you're not really changing policy.
No, yes.
You're auditing the fiscal mechanisms to make sure that, from point A gets to point B, and that's where it's supposed to get to. In some cases, it doesn't get there, or in some cases, it may go over there. But that's it's not a policy exercise. You're not changing laws. You're just doing what any business would do in a profit and loss audit.
I think we're really what we're adding here is caring and competence. And there's a massive amount of fraud of basically people submitting Social Security numbers for Social Security benefits, unemployment, Small Business Administration loans, and medical, where those are fake Social Security numbers, or they're stolen somebody else's Social Security number, and we're trying to put a stop to all of that. And that's the number which is estimated to be on the order of 10% of federal expenditures, which is half a trillion dollars.
It's a huge number.
Yeah.
You're working with the agency heads. You're working with the cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
I saw Howard Lutnick was on TV yesterday saying you were partnering with them. Is that fair?
Yeah. What we do is in consultation with the cabinet secretaries and with their departments. So we're really trying to be we'll refer to ourselves as tech support.
Mm-hmm.
We're really helping the department get a handle on things, because what actually happens here is you've got this sort of vast federal bureaucracy, and then you've got a very thin layer on top of the politically appointed officials, and what tends to happen is that the bureaucracy, frankly, is in control. And they largely ignore the politically appointed people.
Why should the bureaucracy?
I'm sure you must have seen that.
I've lived with this twice. I worked for Reagan many years ago, and I worked for Trump in the first term.
Yeah.
It's like a permanent bureaucracy. I might add, it's a permanently liberal bureaucracy.
Yes, very much so.
And it's not a bureaucracy that necessarily enforces or implements presidential policy.
They don't. In fact, they try their best to thwart presidential policy. So the president is the elected representative of the people. And if the president cannot get things implemented as a reflection of the will of the people, then what we have is not a democracy, we have a bureaucracy. We have rule of the bureau, not rule of the people. And that's what we're trying to defeat here is the bureaucracy and have rule of the people. And as you mentioned, the bureaucracy is overwhelmingly Democrat. So Washington, D.C., was 92.5%, I believe, voted for Kamala. So this is overwhelmingly a deep blue situation.
How do you pick your next targeted agency or department?
Well, we're trying to act broadly across all departments, so it's not just one department at a time. But
are you in all of them now? All of them?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. Oh.
We're trying to make the government more efficient across the board. So yeah.
How big's your team?
We're a little over 100 at this point.
100.
Get to 200.
You're going to get to 200.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're recruiting from where? More or less.
Basically, it's software people, information security software people, and finance. It's basically, finance and technology. Frankly, I can't believe I'm here doing this. It's kind of bizarre, but I kind of think that we've got this enormous federal budget deficit, and it's a $2 trillion deficit. It keeps growing. Our interest payments are higher than our Defense Department budget.
Yes, the most insane piece of information you will ever hear. The US spends a lot on defense. It's currently spending more just repaying interest on debt. It's not sustainable. Something had to be done, and thank fuck this window of opportunity has opened. Years from now, people will look back on this as one of the most incredible things to ever take place in the US government, preventing an absolute train wreck in the future. But right now, Elon acknowledging on X moments ago, quote, "The antibody reaction is strong." This in response to somebody who posted, "Elon, you are now in the crosshairs of every major nefarious entity on Earth. You will be blamed for everything. Tread carefully, tread safely."
That's, I think, was the real wake-up call for me, was looking at seeing that the interest payments on national debt exceeded the Defense Department budget, and that was only growing over time, which meant if we didn't do something about this, then there won't be any money for anything. We'll just be servicing debt.
And you know how to read an income statement, and you know how to read a balance sheet. You've had some business experience. I'm kidding, but you know about this stuff.
Yeah, really, I just don't want America to go bankrupt.
So it's a call to action. You're hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? How are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty.
But there's no turning back, you're saying.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day. Mm-hmm. So it's very significant.
You think you'll wind up getting to $1 trillion?
Yeah.
Of savings?
Unless we're stopped, we will get to $1 trillion of savings.
And that stuff can be.
Now, just to be clear, when we hear about $1 trillion of savings, this is all essentially comprised of either fraud, corruption, waste, misuse of funds, or abuse. $1 trillion of grift. No wonder the reaction is so intense. There are a lot of pigs with their snouts in the trough, and they've currently been eating very well. Not for much longer.
Translate it. We've been talking, we had Russell Vogt, the OMB director, on earlier, through very rescission authority, impoundment authority. But I believe you said earlier, it's an audit that will not gather dust on shelves. This is actually going to wind up with real savings, bend the spending baseline down.
Yeah, this is a very important point as well. This is compounding. These aren't just like one-off savings. If you can save $500 billion, $1 trillion per year from the US budget, that's every single year indefinitely. As I said, years from now, people are going to look back and go, holy shit, this was an incredible moment. But everybody who was counting on that $1 trillion lining their pockets ain't happy.
There have been many good audits, like I said, done by inspector generals and by Government Accountability Office, and they just haven't been implemented. Nothing's been done. I think the GAO identified that there were 17 million dead people in the Social Security database several years ago. It's now 20 million, but nobody did anything about it.
Now, that's kind of strange. If I were a tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist, I might suggest that maybe that's actually by design. Maybe the powers that be, the creatures in the swamp, those involved in the corruption and the fraud, are delighted with there being roughly 20 million Social Security numbers in the database linked to people who aren't even alive, because that'd be a great way to commit fraud. You got a list of essentially 20 million different Social Security numbers to utilise when you're requesting payments you're not entitled to, loans, all kinds of fraud. But of course, I'm not a tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist, so I'm sure that the fact that this was identified and nothing was done is just a magical coincidence.
And
I think you can sort of look at this as a complaint minimization optimization. So basically, if the government sends money out to, whether it's wasteful or fraudulent, nobody complains if they receive money, but they do complain if they don't receive money.
That is absolutely true.
And the people that complain the loudest are the ones receiving the fraudulent money.
Bro just spat some facts right there. This is why I mentioned earlier in the video to take some time to take a step back and just reflect on the insane reactions, the hysteria, the intensity, and ask yourself, why? The intensity of these reactions is in direct proportion how much fraud and corruption has been involved. Simple as that.
And you're on it.
Yeah. I mean, so the goal here is let's not have America go bankrupt with waste and fraud.
Now, call me crazy, but that seems like a pretty reasonable goal. So again, why is anyone reacting so intensely and against this?
So that's what I'm here for, and we're making good progress.
Yes, you are. You're going to go another year?
Yeah, I think so.
Final report, middle of next year?
Well, we're just getting things done as opposed to writing a report. Like say, reports don't mean anything. You got to actually take action.
Yes.
So the waste and fraud in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. So that's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here, and then turning them into voters.
Yes.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing. If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave and they'll lose voters.
But you have president's support. He said so again yesterday. He completely supports your operation.
Yeah. Well, thanks. But that's super. Without the president's support, we couldn't make any progress here. Yeah. I mean, where you'll see the biggest outcry is from the Democrats who are. They don't want the waste and fraud to be turned off because it is a gigantic magnet to attract illegal immigrants and have them stay in the country. And I mean, you see some of the crazy stuff, like where money from FEMA, which is FEMA is an agency that's meant to take care of Americans in distress. And a bunch of their money was being sent to pay for luxury hotels in New York for illegal immigrants.
Now, I just want to be clear. This is accurate. This is true. This happened. Think about how fucking insane that is.
And that was happening even after the president was elected, even after he signed an executive order saying that needs to stop. So we actually made sure that money did stop going, because it's outrageous that American taxpayer money is spent on luxury hotels for illegals. But you have to say, why was that being done? It was because the Democrats are trying to import voters, basically.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And that's also why there's no voter ID needed. In fact, in California and New York State, you're not allowed to show voter ID.
This is also true and absolutely fucking insane. Of course, if I were a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, I would say that the reason you're literally not even allowed to show ID would be to facilitate and enable huge amounts of fraud during elections. But of course, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm sure that there's a totally viable explanation as for why, when you're doing just about anything else in California, you are required to present ID, but you're literally not even allowed to show your ID, let alone ask for it, when voting in elections in California. I'm sure there's a totally reasonable explanation. If anyone's got any ideas, let me know in the comments below. It's obviously not to enable and facilitate fraud.
Isn't that seem insane?
Insane.
Yeah.
I'd say that as a New Yorker. It's insane.
Yeah, insane.
And it violates the entire Constitution and the principles behind it.
Yes.
Producers are yelling at me to get out. I don't want to end this interview because it's too much fun.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you one thing, 20 seconds? Nothing to do with Doge. Can you rescue the astronauts?
Yes, we're bringing them back in a few weeks.
There's not near enough attention being paid to this. You're going to get them back?
We're going to get them back.
God bless.
Thank you.
Well, I've been saying it for some time now. Elon, public enemy number one. The swamp is real mad. And it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. Massive respect to Musk. He knew what would happen ahead of time. He's willing to take the arrows. Why? Because he's trying to do good. And as he said, he's making great progress. Despite the fake news and the false narrative and the Rena crowd, Rena riot, fake protesters, the terrorist organizations funding attacks on Tesla service centers, on vehicles. Short term, extreme volatility. Long term, it's going to be a distant memory. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.